anything's possible though, because Bitcoin is money. So money talk, man.
Welcome to the Bitcoin Podcast, powered by Cointelegraph. What began as a small experiment is now a rapidly expanding ecosystem. As citizens of the internet, we expect to be able to send money over the internet as quickly and cheaply as sending an email. As citizens of the internet, we demand transparency. Here, we talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain industries, fintech, and more. But we're not experts. We're just three guys in the Bitcoin community, and adoption is the only thing that matters.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Podcast, episode number 75. I'm your first host, Marcello.
And I'm host number 2, D.
And host number 3, Dr. Petty.
DP?
DP?
And we're powered by Cointelegraph, as you heard in our new music. And basically what that entails is nothing. The same show, same format, nothing changes. But we should let the people know that we have a partnership going on, so we're a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
we have more people involved with listening to us.
Absolutely, it's we're partnered up with the Cointelegraph. It's a lightning bolt. It kind of looks like the Power Rangers lightning bolt, which makes me feel really awesome about what we've done because I love the fucking Power Rangers.
I call the Green Ranger then.
You call Green Ranger? Do I do it? I should call Black Ranger. I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Did you ever get mad when that Black Ranger did that disco dance during the opening credits? Like, why did the black guy have to do that?
Well, I was 8, so no. But
that shit was cool, and he went and tried it himself.
Hell yeah. I was like, man, I'm going to moonwalk ooff a picnic table and do a backflip and kick some dude on the forehead. And for some reason, it's going to explode.
Well, I guess the only thing that this Cointelegraph means is we now have a very extensive YouTube and SoundCloud reach that they are going to run. So it's just more ways to listen to us.
On top of that, they're going to be building articles around our episodes, so you can read about what we had to say and so on and so forth, and found our podcast embedded in those articles as well.
Absolutely. So if you listen to the show and you like what we do, it would behoove you to sign up to our newsletter and stuff. Write stuff into us so we can provide you guys with more cool stuff to think about, talk about.
I really enjoy the fact that when I first said the word behoove, y'all both looked at me like I was crazy, and now D uses it on the regular.
I can't stop using it.
It's a good word.
Can't stop, won't stop. It's interesting. It's like this is in your best interest, but saying it in one word instead of 4.
That's why we have vocabulary words.
I know, man. GRE words. Well, what are we talking about today, Cello? What's on the docket?
Some ads. Some ads are on the docket.
Oh, shit. Fuck. All right, guys, listen to these ads and don't hate us afterwards. All right, go.
All right, we're brought to you by escrowmybits.com. It's super easy, and let me tell you a little bit about it. All you have to do, it takes 3 steps. Just register and deposit your Bitcoin, and the seller ships the item, buyer checks the goods, and then releases the funds. And they also offer Bitcoin escrow with a locked exchange rate. They charge a flat escrow fee of 1% on all the transactions, and they even offer you the ability to split the fee with the other party. So they've thought of everything. And Escrow My Bits was created to solve all the problems wrong with the type of escrow services currently around. Their goal is to make using escrow as simple as possible, and I think they've achieved it. Because we, D and I, we want there to no longer be any excuses on why not to use escrow. So start that process, go to their website, and escrow your shit with Escrow My Bits.
You need to escrow? I was going to do, need to escrow some shit? Use escrowmybits.com.
And we're also brought to you by Athena Bitcoin, which is the most trusted name in Bitcoin ATMs. And being from Texas, I'm pretty proud of this because they're located in Houston, Fort Worth, and Dallas. Yeah, and they're going to branch like all over Texas probably soon. and 7 other U.S. cities. So, and then you can download the Athena Bitcoin wallet on the App Store or on Google Play, whichever you prefer, and get that list of specific locations. So for more information, visit athenabitcoin.com. And we're also brought to you by Athena Bitcoin's portfolio company, bitquick.co. It is the secure, quick, and easy peer-to-peer Bitcoin marketplace. You get Bitcoin for cash in as little as 3 hours. And BitQuick is serving Bitcoiners since 2013, which is the year that Dee introduced me to Bitcoin. So where there's a bank, there's BitQuick.
Absolutely. Is that it? Are we good?
Yeah, we can tell people about Purse at the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's do some Bitcoin talk, some fintech talk, whatever we want to do.
All right.
What's on the docket?
Well, let's talk a little bit about Synereo. Their big pitch was that they could have prevented the attack on the DAO, but when we were catching Dimitruk up on this interview, he said that he was a little bit apprehensive about proof of stake protocols.
Yeah, I'm apprehensive because it's not understandable right up front. Like, I did a bit of reading.
It hasn't really been done yet. It's still
exactly.
I mean, it's only been done in test nets. Lightning Network will be somewhat of a proof of stake network. So when Lightning Network gets implemented into Bitcoin, Bitcoin will essentially turn into a proof of stake / proof of work model. This is according to Andreas, who then talked to a lot of the developers. So you can call it that. It's not how they're marketing themselves, but that's what it is. You put up money at stake, and the more you put up, the more transactions you can flow through. I don't know what the details of how Ethereum plans to transition into proof of stake, but it's essentially a scalable way of doing many transactions. But I'm not sure. I haven't done enough real research on it to.
That sounds better than what I read on Synereo's website, though. Synereo's website is a thing called Reo, R-E-O. Ro, is that what?
I guess they call it Ro. Or Rolang is the language they use. But
Ro?
What is Rio? Tell me what Rio is.
Rio is, hold up, I just had it up here. Did I close that tab? Sure did. Synereo, it was something about...
Rio is a measure of your reputation as a publisher.
You got it. Keep going.
I lost it. That was the Google thing.
Let me see here. And Rio. Here it is. Measure of your reputation as a publisher of attention-worthy content. So as you get deeper into that paragraph, what it basically says is that if your content is more attention-worthy, it gets to people faster. And it seems like, yeah, duh. But it's just too complicated, man. Why? That's what I don't understand about.
It definitely is complicated. I mean, and for those who listen to the interview, we don't talk much about Synereo, to be honest, but we talk about a lot of complicated stuff. And why is that bad? Because at the end of the day, they're going to provide, hopefully, if everything works out the way they plan to, they're going to provide a platform for people to use. And it should be based on good UX and UI design, easy to use by whoever that wants to use it. So how it works in the background, if it works, doesn't matter how complex it is. And if you're going to use advanced math models and network theory and the tip top theoretical ways of mapping these things out and creating them, then who cares? That's good.
Is this a yours competitor?
I wanted to get around to asking that, and I'm not sure. I think it would be because it's a social network. Well, the first implementation of what they're trying to do will be a social network that rewards good content,
right?
Which is essentially what the yours network is, or what it will be, is getting money into the people who create good content. And by giving money to those people, you then spread the, popularity of that content at the same time, written into the platform. It's not, an extra gimmick that works.
Yeah. And I think Ryan X. Charles wants the alpha to go around September, October, and that's the same time Synereo is launching theirs. So that's going to be kind of like a head-to-head thing.
Ooh.
Well, it's clear that this is what needs to. This is like the next thing that people want. That people want to. There's a clear problem with people creating content and not getting paid for it based on the quality of their content, and they have this like pay-per-click model of advertising that a lot of people don't like and doesn't work very well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of, I think it seems like there's a lot of middlemen, and it's obfuscation on how things are done. A lot of these new models, such as yours, and I think what I possibly understand in the Synereo, is that the money just goes straight to the person who created the content. And by doing that, you then boost the popularity of that content, allowing it to be spread more. So you can get real viral things, and the person who gets paid for that viral thing is really the person who created the content.
Man, you know it would be great content to put out there?
The Bitcoin podcast.
Yeah, obviously. But if you had like a GoPro camera on your head and then some sort of software that automatically blurred people's face and then just people watched and talked about their ass, posted that on the internet.
You know, as much as I hate that idea, it's probably true.
Look at this fucking guy. What's he doing? Oh, picking his nose. Got him. Like that. That would be awesome. I'd like to watch that. So I just want to know something like, say I'm on the outside looking in. I've been familiar with Bitcoin. I've been following it for a while, kind of getting the, footing with blockchain technology. I hear I can get paid for my internet content. When's this shit start? Yours drops when? In the fall?
I don't know.
I know that the alpha drops in September.
All right, alpha. Ooh.
And that means
you get that information?
On their Reddit. They have their own Reddit page.
Okay.
And the only thing that you can do is share and post, but your privacy is granular. And basically, they're just trying to get feedback from the general public. But that launches in September. And if you're wondering, what about Steemit? From my understanding, Steemit is not decentralized beyond using cryptocurrency. Synereo relies on decentralized server software without needing any sort of central authority or server. So I think that's the difference between all these different platforms.
I just want to get paid for my content because that shit is awesome. So
but you want to get paid for it. You also want to be able to use the money you get paid, right? That would be good. Of these, from what I've understood, a lot of these Steemit posts that are blowing up, and it's really unbalanced on who actually gets blown up on Steemit. Like the people who are actually getting money on this platform is really imbalanced. And now it's just whenever they post anything, they get money. But a lot of good content immediately falls to the bottom. So
Steemit.
It's also not clear if the platform can support these people taking money out of the platform. Like it's the same thing with Bitcoin, right? So say I have a lot of Bitcoin. I got a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. But if I can't get the Bitcoin out of the network into whatever I want to spend, or I can't spend that Bitcoin, then it's pretty much worthless. Mm-hmm. And with Steemit, that seems to be the case. Like they have a lot of Steam or whatever the token is. I think it's Steam. But they may not be able to get it out of the platform.
They're saying
actually use it.
I think Steemit, the earnings are I think they're distributed through the blockchain and it's hard coded. So whoever's running Steemit, they don't need to interfere with, or there's no middleman between getting paid.
Great. How do they spend it?
That is yet to be determined.
I think people are having issues with transferring their Steemit out of the network into something else that they can then use to buy something. So I could be Steemit rich, but it may be worthless. I don't know. It's how this platform scales, and if it's just pure hype and not able to deliver is something to be determined. I'm curious to talk to someone about it so they can answer those questions for me.
Yeah.
Well, Bitcoin's still the king Mac Daddy. So nice try, I guess, with Synereo. Good job, guys.
Would Bitcoin be like, I'm sure you'll all see Coming to America.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy. Would
Yeah.
Bitcoin be like Eddie Murphy's dad?
Mm-hmm. You talking about James Earl Jones?
Yeah, James Earl Jones with like a lion over his shoulders.
Hell yeah, Mufasa. Bitcoin's the Mufasa of Bitcoin. Wow.
Oh, his name is Mufasa in that movie. You're right.
No, it's not. Mufasa's the
it
dad
is.
lion in The Lion King.
I understand that, but I think his name is also Mufasa.
His name's
I
not
could be wrong. It's
Mufasa.
been a long time. But either way,
Guess who's looking that up?
I'm looking that up.
the Ethereum, is that like Eddie Murphy?
No, it's King Joffer.
Hafe Hofer.
That's
But I like
Mufasa.
how Eddie Murphy's name is Prince Akeem, and isn't that the guy on Empire? All right, we get off topic.
Maybe. You just let everyone know that you watch Empire.
I like Empire.
And you're proud of it. Nice. Way to back it up.
I mean, if I was full black, I'd be watching like Medea's Family Christmas or something.
Interesting.
Okay, let's go back. Hey, did you know Louis Anderson was in that movie?
Before you say that, it's true though, because D hates the fact that he has to watch Homeboy's everything.
I hate the fact that just due to trickle down Tyler Perry, I know every single thing about everything he's done. Bugs me.
Why is that?
If you're black and you have a terrible movie taste, then you're seeing a Wayans Brother movie. Like, that's just guaranteed.
Well, the Wayans brothers aren't so bad. Medea's
They've
awful.
broken out of the black stigma. Like Tyler Perry is. If you're black, you're watching Tyler Perry. That's not.
There's no way around it, dude.
That's coming from all the black people I know.
Every single time I end up like with my extended family, the TV naturally gravitates towards some sort of Tyler Perry movie, and I'm like, damn.
We got the Tyler Perry movie package.
Yeah, just the Tyler Perry channel. There it goes.
All right.
All
So I think
Madea.
that's a good transition into going into the interview.
We should probably go to the interview. Go for it, Cello. Introduce.
All right. Well, we originally started with Mr. Dor Konforty, but then he kind of brought in another member of the team, so it was really, really cool. But starting with Dor, to let you know how credible he is, he has a master's degree in neurobiology from a brain research program. So the dude is super smart. And Greg Meredith is another really cool guy who's been working in the blockchain space, helping Ethereum with formal verification of their proof of stake protocol. Synereo's formally verified smart contracting language would have prevented the attack on the DAO. So that's a pretty big deal, and one of the reasons why we wanted to get him on the show. And when we started this interview, I thought Synereo's aim was kind of to overtake Facebook, but I found out quickly that wasn't the case. Really interesting interview, and like Corey said, it was quite technical, but Corey does a good job of reeling them in and kind of keeping it layman for the everyday listener. So let's get into that.
Can I say something? Never mind. I'm going to leave it. And here it is.
All right, guys, let's start with just a little bit of light introductions. If you guys could, one by one, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the space.
Who wants to go first?
You do.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to find a new way to introduce myself. Usually I introduce myself as a poor, stupid mathematician and musician who is paying for his math habit and musicking by working in tech. So I'm trying to...
That's what you're looking for. Keep doing that.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I guess I could stick with that one, but I'm going to have to find a new one. I was the principal architect for BizTalk process orchestration, where I used a lot of the math that we use in Synereo to build the first generation of internet scale smart contracting systems. These were typically dubbed business. It was in the space of business process modeling and business process automation, out of which W3 standards like Beppel and WS choreography and others arose, and also kicked off the whole service-oriented architecture stuff. So I got interested in applying the same tech to bio, and went off to do that when I realized the biologists were just drowning in data, and they needed a data delivery mechanism. And as I started building that out, I was approached by an entrepreneur who was very, very concerned about the kind of privacy imbalance and the growing economic imbalance. So we took the stuff I was doing and pivoted it towards a social network. And then I got as we sort of deployed this in more and more realistic settings and realized we had something. I wanted to find a way to monetize it, and that's when I looked at the blockchain more seriously, and that's how Dor and I met, because he was interested in building it. Likewise, decentralized social network, and Dor was using in public the kind of language that we were using in private. So we thought it was really kind of a match made in heaven. That we were both talking about the attention economy and how to sort of make that a fundamental and explicit part of a social network, so really it felt like a good match, and it's been quite an interesting ride, I have to say. I'll tell you more about the ride in a moment. But in the interest of both creating narrative tension, but also giving Dor some airtime, let me turn it over to Dor.
So I was born on the internet. I learned everything I know on forums and from computer games. And I have a little bit of a background in computers generally, like every computer game kid does. But mostly I spent my adult life in the academy doing neuroscience, and generally interested in the most complex distributed system known to man, which is the brain. Throughout the time, I still maintained quite a bit of an interest in the net, and specifically just watching it grow, develop, offering more and more tools, more and more ways for people to communicate, to collaborate, to find new and interesting ways to expand what we can do together. And it was always a parallel interest that I had to neuroscience. And because of some observations that I've had really watching the internet grow and some insights from the brain, it was very clear to me very early on in Bitcoin's life that this is the new type of technology that's going to remove some of the friction that we have in communication and create better spaces for us to come up with new ways and more complex ways to collaborate, to engage with each other, to create value where previously the tools just weren't in place to facilitate such creation. So about 2 years ago, after I've already been in Bitcoin since the beginning and mining and whatnot, I thought it would be a good time to really take the next step, to up the ante and push the envelope, really do something that takes this technology and offers beyond just value transfer, beyond just financial services. And I started looking around the net for all sorts of available technologies, all sorts of other experiments with blockchains and such. And then I found out about Greg and what he was doing. And he seemed to be some sort of space robot or an alien from the future. With, the quality technology just immediately available and handed over. And so we've been working on this happily ever since.
This conversation can go in quite a few different directions. And I think what's interesting about modern technology, and at least the way we're trying to push the edge of machine learning and how we interact with machines. So we have like this push for artificial intelligence and making machines autonomous and essentially doing our bidding and doing everything autonomously. And then you have the other side of when we try to do this, they end up not working very well, and you need the human element. And it's somewhat unclear as to how we move forward. Will there ever be a completely autonomous artificial intelligence, or will there always be a human element? And it seems like Synereo takes the latter of those two opinions and saying that the human element is necessary?
Oh, so that's a really great perspective, and Primavera de Filippi has been raising this perspective for quite some time, where she sort of said Ethereum, smart contracts or Skynet, sort of that was her point, and I think it's a really important thing to consider. So roughly speaking, whether we think it's Ethereum or some other group, the issue is if you build a public economic, censorship resistant, Sybil resistant compute infrastructure. So in other words, you store the state of a kind of global computer on the blockchain in such a way that nobody can actually take it down. Then as you build programs that run on this computer, they also can't be taken down. And so they have a kind of autonomous agency. And if we then hand over to those programs mission critical digital assets, such as the ability to start a car, via Internet of Things kinds of things, or drive an entire fleet of vehicles, or move large amounts of funds around the globe. Yeah, so these are real serious issues, and they're kind of scary, right? And we're giving these programs a kind of autonomy that we have to really think about very hard. And one of the reasons we have to think about them very hard is because, as I said in a recent interview on the Ether Review, we really can't know what programs do, and I don't think people understand that. We cannot know what programs do. The halting problem comes up in many guises, and gas is not sufficient as a means of controlling those kinds of programs. You can't even know if a program is going to call a subroutine, and so you can't just like visually inspect or probe a program and say what it's going to do. And even if you probe it with other kinds of automated means, it becomes halting hard to really tease out all the twists and turns that a program can do. So computer programs are mysterious. They are as mysterious as people, but they don't have a lot of human qualities that make us sort of bond with each other, right? So they don't have kids, they don't go to the bathroom, that sort of thing. So it really is a kind of, it's ill-advised at this point to just hand over the keys to the kingdom to this new class of autonomous agents without a lot of a reflection. So I think that's kind of the situation that we're in right now.
So coming back to that, I guess maybe challenging a little bit. With these computer languages and these programs that we build are axiomatic by nature in that they are built upon mathematics and then put into a computer language, and there's a certain scope in which these things can operate. And although we may not know exactly what they'll do, don't we know the range in which they can do things? No, not even close. And this is exactly why. So first of all, you can't know it even for a single program, but it becomes a lot worse because what we're really imagining is millions and millions of contracts and millions of instances of those contracts. So the first millions are the different kinds of contracts, and the second millions is all the instances of those contracts that are running. So we're literally talking billions of interconnected contracts, and to think that we can understand dynamics at that scale, no, we really don't. And it's quite easy to see. It's a chaotic dynamical system. So that's more akin to trying to understand biological data or understand the brain. It may be built on simple principles, but we're still really don't know what's going on. Yeah, but it's more than just that we don't know what's going on. We can't know. There are hard limits about what we can and cannot know, and we cannot know these kinds of dynamics. There will forever be mysterious. So there's some things that we can do to make it safer, but there will always be hard limits about what we can and cannot know about these kinds of things, under certain assumptions about the nature of what human capacity is and what program capacity is.
Okay. Now, therein lies a very deep and interesting discussion. I don't think many people understand that there's actually this infinite tower of expressive capability, right? So there's a notion of computing which is beyond Turing complete, and then above that there's a notion of computing that's beyond that, and so on and so forth, all the way out to infinity. And we don't really know where human capacity is in that tower. The strong AI idea is that we sit at Turing complete, but that may or may not be so. And there are very, very bright mathematicians and logicians who think that might not be the case. So Roger Penrose, for example, suggests that no, because we are fundamentally we live in a quantum world, and we're already seeing this interface between quantum and biology. It's quite likely that human intelligence is somehow making use of quantum phenomena, and so our capacity is out past Turing complete. That's an argument that very, very bright and well respected people have made. So again, there's so much mystery here, and we need to not lose sight of that, especially if we're talking about turning over agency to things that we really don't understand.
So I actually I'm a computational physicist whose specialty is quantum mechanics. And
sweet.
And it seems I'm not quite sure if you're making this same assumption, is that quantum mechanics tells us that we can't know what physics is doing or reality is doing. All we can do is know the limitations of the questions that we can ask. So
yeah, I don't think I would put it quite that way.
Are you giving
but I
understand to the idea of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, go ahead. Say that last bit again.
Are you giving somewhat of a sentience to artificial intelligence?
Again, we don't yet know what sentience is, right? I think there's lots of different arguments about what sentience is, but I think the real important thing is: are we at a point where we feel confident that we can unleash this kind of agency without human intervention?
Okay, so this brings us right back. Let's get, I guess, maybe back on topic, because I could diverge this and tangent it to all kinds of places, but let's get back to Synereo. How does Synereo address this situation?
Dora, I've been yammering on for quite some time. You want to give a go, and then I'll add my 2 cents.
Well, I'm really happy to let you lead the conversation, but specifically about that, I want to give an answer that's perhaps a bit more generalized. What we are trying to put our finger on is on what is going to allow humans, people communicating through the internet, to come up with new non-zero-sum games to play, games that put us in the same boat, that make us acknowledge that we're all in this together. And the 4 things that are conducive to that are communications, iteration, a sort of meta-level order that we all adhere to, like a story or type of a religion, but it can also be a system of rules or morals. And lastly, there's reputation. When you have reputation involved, it's much easier to place trust in others and coordinate, communicate, and then interact with them in ways that produce mutual benefit. So with this insight into what creates non-zero sumness, which is a major component generally in the progress of the social order, we've tried to bake reputation into the system in a way that's very inherent, that's innate to the actions that you take in a network. So in fact, as part of the attention economy, but also we're hoping to extend that later and generalize it further, reputation isn't anymore some conserved quantity. It's not a score that you hold. It's not like you get more points. There's actually a reflection of your reputation as the topology of the network. So it's really baked into the basic assumptions of how information flows through the network.
So I was reading a little bit on the website, and I think you guys right now are making headlines preventing the attack on the DAO. Regarding the original mission of the DAO and given another opportunity to invest in a similar project, and let's just say it didn't have security issues this time, would you both eagerly do so? And do you kind of look forward to a revised and polished DAO?
Oh, I'm super, super excited about all efforts in this direction. I mean, even buggy ones, right? Because what we're really trying to stumble towards is a means by which we can get signal aggregation, where we can start to understand what is the will of the collective, the wisdom of the collective and the will of the collective. And the DAO is one movement in this direction. And there are lots of models to pay attention to in this space. The brain is one. Honeybee democracy is another. How swarms, for example, choose where they're going to go next. Is another intriguing consensus mechanism. Let's see. I was just thinking about another one. Kinetic proofreading is another natural approach to beginning to look at signal aggregation. So I think we need lots and lots of investigation, and we need to kind of put it in a crucible. Like the DAO, the folks who have done the DAO have been bold. They've kind of put themselves, under the crucible of making it work with real live money, which is going to force people. It's a kind of forcing function, right? It's getting enough people excited and interested that they're going to engage and ferret out some of these bugs. I'm super, super excited about this. I'm super excited about Vlad's project, Ether Signal. I think that's really good, and I think there are going to be lots more of these. Is my answer.
So there's
one aspect of this that we have explored in this piece that you mentioned is about how to make stronger assurances about the quality of the code and about its ability to withstand all sorts of attacks, like the one that was used to drain funds out of the DAO. The other aspect that we hope to see in a future DAO, and that we're also contemplating, joking about implementing ourselves, is this reputation baked into the system, or essentially this human element. In the DAO, the curators, the human element in there was there just as a very thin stopgap measure. It was just about whitelisting the proposals. And generally, I think that the move to try and place all of the trust, or the vast majority of it, in code is in many ways naive. And it's not just because of the things that Greg mentioned about code, about this extreme unknowability about it. It's also just that no matter what type of code you write, at least at this point, before the singularity, it's never going to capture all of the situations that can manifest. The more complex a system you build, the harder it's going to design it to just be able to handle all of the things that are going to happen. And not only that, the world is changing so quickly now. It's really not such a good idea to have something like this that's unstoppable, just operating without the ability to change it, to make sure that it still serves a benefit. And with some humans in the mix talking about how they want this to function, what the best thing would be to do for this to best serve everyone. Now, I know that the DAO had a mechanism for updating, but there wasn't really a discussion about how to best govern the DAO so that it serves all of the users and all of the investors in it. It was treated as another type of proposal. But then proposals really just depended on who had the funds, right? Funds essentially equaled voice. And then again, it puts us into a situation that in many ways we're trying to escape with, right? Coming up with new economies, new ways to interact online, new ways to govern ourselves in a decentralized manner. And so I really think that a new type of DAO or DCO is a name I like better, decentralized collaborative organization, will have to have a proper governance mechanism in place that acknowledges the reputation people have in making decisions and operating in a way that others see as beneficial for the entire network, not just be governed solely by code and all of the issues it may have with not really anticipating all sorts of situations, and without human intervention, at least at the level of a sanity check.
So I would like to return to your original question, and just point out that there are ways to begin to tame some of the interactions amongst contracts and within contracts. So again, when I talk about contracts here, I'm talking about programs that are deployed against some kind of blockchain-like things. You get this censorship-resistant, civil-resistant, public economic behavior. So they're effectively unstoppable. So that makes them kind of special programs as opposed to apps you might get from the App Store, which are easily stoppable. So one thing is that there's a new class of type systems that are called behavioral types, and they capture more information about programs, and they allow you to say things, both things like about liveness, for example, and safety of programs, and they also allow you to say things about security properties. And these type systems have been essentially under development and emerging since about the late 80s, but they haven't hit the mainstream. There are a few mainstream industrial programming languages that are beginning to adopt some of these kinds of techniques. One really notable example is the type and effect system for Scala's delimited continuations. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Again, you can express deadlock freedom in a type system. And in fact, back in 2003, that's one of the things I demoed for Bill. We built a programming language very much like the Rolang contracting language. And we had a behavioral type system for it. And, as a part of the demo, I introduced a deadlock into a couple of contracts that were talking to each other, and the compiler actually caught the deadlock, and it actually said, around line 31, this thing is waiting on a message from the other program, and the other program is waiting on a message from this one, and they're not going to make any progress because there's a cyclic dependency here. So that's that kind of thing is for real, and it's happening very, very rapidly now. There was a long tail, but now it's beginning to take off, and it's really important for us to take advantage of those tools and techniques to tame some of this behavior. It turns out that you can also use types like this as a discovery mechanism and a just-in-time service provisioning mechanism. So you have contracts describe themselves using behavioral types. So that's an important capability. And then you can also have clients that are looking for contracts that do things, ask about clients contracts that do things using behavioral types. And then if you have repositories of these behavioral types and the contracts that they're linked to, you can assemble just in time a contract that will cover a range of behavior that's required by a client. So that's another important aspect of it, which is not just that it works defensively, but it also makes us more productive. So again, back to your AI point, this kind of capability it's not just constraining; it's enabling. It allows contracts to assemble themselves to solve a particular problem required by a client. The other side of this. Well, let me stop there for now and let the conversation go.
Yeah,
but that's
I'm going to try and bring this down. So this is like I greatly appreciate this conversation, but I want to try and bring it down to the everyday listener. Like what does this mean for essentially what you're saying? If I'm following you correctly, is that like your first implementation on the Synereo network, is a social platform. And for the everyday user, they don't give a shit about any of the stuff that you just said, unfortunately. And so,
I
essentially
totally
means
what it means is that, for example, like in our DAO bug paper, what we show is that if they had used our typing system, we would have caught the concurrency error, or the reentrancy error, which in Erlang shows up as a race condition. But we would have caught it before at compile time. And so the developers who are writing that contract, if they had written it in Erlang, would never have deployed the buggy contract because the compiler would have said, sorry, you've got a race condition here that doesn't match the expectations of your semantics.
That's beautiful. So what you're saying is that your implementation, or the software implementation that you've created, allows developers to create applications that run smoothly at scale and catch these minor esoteric problems that developers may possibly have, vis-a-vis the DAO, before they actually happen.
Yeah, but I would say that $50 million drained out of a contract is not a minor problem.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that
that's a major problem.
It's a major problem, but it's a very subtle issue in how the problem was manifested.
Okay, good. I like the word subtle. I like the word nuanced, but not minor.
Okay. Okay, so the first implementation, or the first, I guess, decentralized application of Synereo is going to be a social platform, which you hope is a decentralized way of taking over Facebook. But
no, we have no illusions about taking over Facebook anytime soon. This is not what's happening here. Essentially, what we're trying to do, and this social layer is part of it, is to create or to make available for developers all of the tools required to create completely decentralized applications. So all of these features, all of the design that we've talked about is there to essentially underlie a completely new type of economy, one that's decentralized in nature, where any agent on the net can connect with any other and exchange value or communicate directly without any type of middleman, knowing that just by agreeing to use a protocol, he's covered. That the transaction is something that's trustable. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let me amplify that because one of the things that was left out in the summary that you gave earlier is it's not just about individual contracts. It's about how you compose contracts, how you fit contracts together. Like if you think about it, today code is not written de novo. People use components that they steal off of GitHub and they wire them together, right? That's how real code is written, and that's how contracts are going to be written if we succeed.
Oh, it's a
right?
stack exchange
What you have to do is find a way to make the Tinker Toys fit together so that it's safe to fit them together, and that's what we're doing. And if you can make those Tinker Toys fit together safely, then people have the ability to build this much larger ecosystem. And it just turns out that to build a decentralized social network to scale, regardless of whether or not we're trying to take over Facebook, that's not the point. The point is that people have expectations about the scale of social networks that are fueled by Facebook and Twitter and all Instagram and all the others, right? So that's the market expectation right now. So if you want to build something of that scale, you have to have this kind of toy approach that allows them to put the pieces together. And if you do that, then they can put the pieces together in different ways. They can build other kinds of applications like decentralized Uber or decentralized Airbnb, right? The sky's the limit if you get the Tinker Toys just right.
So
right, is that the ultimate goal? Because earlier you mentioned that the social platform is just going to be the first step of the development for monetization.
That's
correct. What you said, that's pretty much the ultimate goal.
Well, yes. I mean, no. For me, that's not the ultimate goal. For me, I've been super clear about this all along. For me, the ultimate goal is we are up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Look at the climate data. Please pay attention to where we are in human history and in terms of the situation for planet Earth. In order to tackle those problems, we need a different kind of intelligence. We need a qualitatively different kind of intelligence that arises out of being able to work together effectively. We need to tap into the wisdom of the collective, the wisdom of the crowd, which, by the way, the belief in that is fundamental in every democratic society, right? When you're in a democracy and you believe that the democracy is better, what you're saying is we believe that the crowd is wiser than any one individual, like a queen or a king. All right. So this idea of the belief in the wisdom of the crowd is not an airy-fairy thing. It's baked into most expressions of democratic society. And now, so we need that right now. We need that right now because we are facing problems that we can't solve individually, that we have to solve collectively. And so I'm building a platform, and I believe that Dora and I are in sync on this. We're building a platform which will make it possible for people to tap into that collective wisdom, so that we can all row together towards solving some of these problems, which is why the attention economy is so fundamental to the platform.
So
So this brings me back to just one more comment on that, if you please. This brings me back to how we started the discussion about the conditions that are conducive to creating collaboration on the network. Part of it is alongside communication, iteration, reputation, and the meta order is the issue of trust, or on the opposite end, you would say how to prevent the fear of being cheated. Now, when you have these protocols in place that are trustless, they can replace what before would have been a point of failure, which is some sort of centralized entity. Right? Nowadays, we feel comfortable putting our money at the bank or using all sorts of other centralized entities that are, entangled in all sorts of legal and financial and regulatory issues that make us comfortable about what's controlling major aspects of our lives. Now, you can take this to the next step and have this happen through code, right? Through these decentralized protocols that are trustless to a degree. Right? It's not an end-all thing, but it allows you to take a step further in how much you can trust that what you're doing online is actually happening, that you're not being cheated. So this also, I'll stop here.
Okay, let's take a step back. Let's assume that you create this platform and it works, and it's everything that you want it to be. You still face the problem of adoption. How, because the modern person doesn't quite understand.
That's a very simple
the
one.
Wonderful part
it's
about
a great
this.
question, a type of question that we've been, working hard towards, because this is exactly what's going to determine whether this becomes a real thing or it's just this philosophical argument in our minds. But the point here is that it's going to be very easy to create applications which are just immediately more beneficial both to users and to suppliers. So if you take the very simple example, like Greg mentioned, of the decentralized Uber, then if you don't have an Uber in between the rider who's donating his car, the rider who's asking for a ride, and the driver who's also donating his car, then the fees are just much lower, right? There's no entity taking 30% of every exchange anymore. So that's an immediate benefit that can be split very easily, both to the rider and to the driver. Now, if you look at other types of interaction on the network, you can see many other locations like this where you can either cut down the fees or produce more freedoms or just allow people to create better spaces in which they can collaborate freely. And this is what it's all about. So just by creating these tools that work better, that I can just as a naive user immediately feel are doing more for me, you can start creating this as an expectation for all other applications.
Right. I mean, I think one of the things that we remember when Katie when Katie came to the Synereo Bay, and I was there at the same time, and we talked about what can we do when we work together, and we realized that this was not just about people, but it was also about contracts and applications, right? And That's essentially what we're talking about here, is creating the conditions whereby both the tools work better together, the applications that you build on top of those tools work better together, which will help people be able to work better together. That's the idea.
That's a beautiful idea. I find that if you can enable people to work better with themselves in a more natural way, then you can get much, much larger things done in a much easier way.
Yeah. That's precisely the thought. And then we think that adoption begins to take care of itself. Like in particular, one of the things that's really important in terms of market signal is, look at the explosive response to diaspora. So even though the diaspora people couldn't deliver on the promise, that didn't mean that people weren't hungry for the promise. Likewise with Elo, people were the response to Elo was explosive because people are hungry for the solution, but Elo again couldn't quite deliver. But with the decentralized technologies, it becomes possible to deliver on the promise that people are hungry for. So already people are hungry for it. I don't want to pick on Facebook too much, because actually Facebook has done wonderful things. But the reality is that Facebook's business model is such that they don't ever want to really give you control of the feed, because that's their bread and butter.
It's their money.
Exactly. And then on top of that, because Facebook is a U.S. company, because Facebook is a U.S. company, they're susceptible to certain kinds of pressures, right? So at any point, the NSA can knock on Facebook corporate offices and say, here's a court order from a secret court, and you have to show us the personally identifiable information and private information of this range of folks and organizations. And there's no recourse for Facebook unless they want to cease to do business in the U.S. And then finally, Facebook itself is just simply, it's too tempting to not go through the data and manipulate users, right? So they've already shown that they do that. So they've published psychology in psychology journals about conducting experiments on their users, right? And then so there really is a breach of trust between Facebook and their users, and users might be willing to go along with that and say, hey, well, I got to give up something in order to get all this, get them to run all the servers and run the data centers. But the second part of the problem is that if you think about it, 50 years ago, right, the New York Times paid its content creators and content curators, and they pay them quite well. Today, Facebook doesn't pay its content creators or its content curators, not a red cent. And yet Facebook makes billions of dollars in profit per quarter, right? So the people who make Facebook valuable don't get a chance to participate in those returns. And they're at risk in terms of the privacy thing. So there's already a huge hunger for something that's going to fit the bill better. And so that's where I think the adoption begins to take care of itself.
So another word towards adoption is embedded in one of the major benefits that this type of network or this type of economy has. And it comes from not having any types of walled gardens anymore. Because there's no central repositories of information, because user data and identity just float in the network in this decentralized cloud, completely under the control of the user, of the originator of the content, then it's very, very easy for any new application to just grab the information that's needed, of course, assuming the user agrees to that, and use it in a new application, bootstrap a completely new application. Greg, I'm just you here. Oh, I can't. There's some echo. Okay. So what it means is that the more applications on the platform, and also worth mentioning is that because the spirit is very open, it's all open source, And specifically, we've done a lot to make sure that what we're doing is very modular. It also means that we're going to see all sorts of applications which are just meshes of functionality with all of the user base of all of the applications that are already on the network. So it's going to have this incredible network effect between applications, between users. It's never going to, again, be a situation where you have these huge stacks, these mega corporations that have access to all of the information that comes from your participation from the moment you've picked up your smartphone in the morning and until you hit send on a message, and have it locked up in a way that's completely unusable to anyone else. I think once developers begin to understand the benefit of this approach, and once there's at least even just a handful of applications on this platform, communicating with the same protocols and being open to each other, there's just going to be a critical turning point where this becomes this idea that just seems, why haven't we done this so far? It just makes so much more sense. Everyone benefits.
I think right there is a great place to start to wrap it up. At the interest of, I could probably continue to talk about these conversations, these issues that you're trying to tackle forever. But in the interest of,
we gotta get him back on.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Well, you're gonna have to come back on, and we'll have more questions to ask you and more depth to get into.
Sweet. Well, I'm just so grateful that you guys are doing podcasts like this and diving in and creating these kinds of conversations. Well, I just think more and more people need to know about what's happening.
Because a whole new world.
When I go to the coffee shop, not everybody knows about what's happening with the decentralized movement. And so I'm grateful to folks like you who are helping to raise the profile and create, a fun and engaging dialogue about it.
Well, we have one more question for you. Go ahead, Cello.
All right. Well, we do have one last question. Might be the hardest that we've ever asked you guys. And Greg, you can take this one. In 10 words or less, can you describe Bitcoin?
It's a great educational experiment in decentralized digital currency.
Let's blow 10 words. Perfect.
I like that.
I like where you went with it.
Cool. Well, thank you two so much. We really appreciate the time. And Dor, I hope you feel better from that flu. Flu suck.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.
Take care.
And that was the interview with Dor.
And Greg.
And
All right.
Corey, can you just talk real quick about the mental tennis that you had with that Greg guy?
Oh no, he's a smart dude, and I think if anything, he's gonna have they might have trouble trying to talk about the complicated things that he's doing and implementing or attempting to implement, because I haven't seen it actually work yet. So, but a lot of the ideas and things that he's trying to do make sense from a first principles type of view. It's we need, it seems as though the way they've started the entire platform is they set out a list of requirements and things they want to achieve, and then worked backwards into achieving those things. And in order to do that, they've had to essentially create a new platform. Right.
So they started with the end in mind. They were like, this is what we want to do. And then they started building back.
If we want to do this, then it has to have these specifications. It has to scale on the network of, if we want to have a social network, it has to be as big or bigger than Facebook. Okay. Well, we have to work at that scale. All right. Well, nothing that is out there works at that scale right now. So how do we do that? And then it has to send money. How do we do that? And all these different requirements and specifications to reel down nitty gritty specifications. And then they've worked backwards and started trying to create things that will allow that. And that's the current process in which they're doing. And there's a lot of smart minds together. If you read the About Me page, I mean, there's a lot of people who've been in the space for a long time who have really good idea, have made good contributions together trying to make this work. And we'll see what happens.
Sounds good, but a lot of things sound good in crypto. But I'll give you something that... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know something that is good that I just found out because I've been so far out of the loop. Coinbase added Ethereum, and I know you guys are like, what? This fucking guy's running the show. But I've been busy, and I just logged back into it. And I logged back into Coinbase.com. I hadn't been, keeping up for a little while, and it was like, Coinbase adds support for Ether, buy Ether. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. And you guys were like, yeah, man, what the fuck? It's been a while. I mean, when did that happen?
A couple days ago.
Whew. Man, shit's getting real.
Then it happened. Yeah, it's pretty neat. We knew it was going to happen. They allowed it in the exchange, and it probably took them a little time to get the front end of Coinbase to work the way they wanted it to and be safe and secure before they actually added it to Coinbase. Because Coinbase is kind of the user face to the majority of their users, and the GDAX exchange is kind of where the traders go. Mm-hmm. Of course, they'll get access to coins first, and if those coins are show to be fruitful and worthwhile, then they'll probably add them to the front end if they think that enough people want to use it.
Mm-hmm. So let's just look at what Coinbase has done. There's USD wallet, Ether wallet, Bitcoin wallet. They have vaults to keep your stuff cold storage. Jeez, man.
And yeah, if we're talking about Ether, could we have asked for better publicity to an audience of 4 million customers? So it's, good stuff.
Man, this stuff it's crazy to think about how far it's come just even since we've gotten interested. And Corey, you were interested in this stuff before we were. So it's just the rapid advancements in this industry that just blow me away.
It's only a few years too.
It's just I'm blown away by how fast this quick shit moves.
Imagine if you were one of the old, I guess you would say, quote unquote, old people of Bitcoin, the first Bitcoiners, the OGs, and you were around when it was just a couple guys on a forum trading something that you couldn't buy anything with. It was just all theoretical,
just having fun with data.
The cypherpunks talking about what this could be in the world, and they're probably a little pissed off at what they wanted and what it is, and they're also probably pretty proud in that it became something real. And this is something that I kind of was thinking about just recently, talking with Synereo, thinking about Ethereum, looking at all the different projects that are going on right now and the potential of them and what they're trying to do and how it's different from Bitcoin and how it's not. And in the beginning, I would say maybe even like a year ago or a year and a half ago, when we first got started, you had Bitcoin and you had Litecoin, and you had just a plethora of altcoins, right? You had Alien Coin, Fast Coin, Gold Coin, Black Bitcoin. I mean, you get all these different. Essentially, it was Bitcoin with a different name, a different block time, and a different amount to be dispersed, right? It's all they did. They changed. They forked the Bitcoin client, changed all these things, created a new coin, called it an altcoin or a new cryptocurrency, and that bred this disdain and hate for altcoins. And they're not real anything. There's no point in using them because they're just Bitcoin with a few different numbers changed, but there's no network effect. There's nobody backing it. It's just all pump and dump, right? Mm-hmm. And that sentiment is still here, but it's not necessary anymore because if you look at what an altcoin is nowadays and what people are trying to do with cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, distributed consensus, and the algorithms for consensus, all these different things, the altcoin space is alive and well and could end up becoming incredibly healthy for the entire community. So when you see a new altcoin come out, don't throw it out immediately because you still have this idea that it's just a forked Bitcoin client. More often than not, a lot of these new altcoins are trying something new and novel and trying to solve a problem that in a new way. And so the example space or test space of what Bitcoin can become or what cryptocurrencies can become is really exciting. And I don't want people to have that same mentality of like, it's just an altcoin. Don't worry about it. It's a pump and dump scheme.
Yeah, you've got to really, if you're into altcoins, go ahead by all means, but you're going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of research because there's very fascinating people, fascinating minds building these just really unique systems right on the edge of what Bitcoin began. So understand that, you're going to spend a lot of time researching these things. But it's just fascinating to see where this goes. I can't believe Ether was added to Coinbase. I'm still a little blown back, but that means, I can automatically buy Ether. That means a lot of things. They don't have a cold wallet. I don't think. I didn't see.
I think a lot of the things that you've grown to like with Coinbase are not automatically attached to Ether yet.
No, you can do a reoccurring Ether buy. I'm looking at it right now.
Can you do it instantly?
You can do it instantly if you, there's only $100 instant buy limit right now on my stuff.
So I'm sure a lot of the ways you can do things that you can currently do with Bitcoin will slowly move towards that for Ether on Coinbase. I haven't looked into it. I haven't been buying a lot lately.
Damn. I'll be damned. This is cool, man. Well.
Oh, I do want to point out that Andreas exposed OneCoin, said they're a Ponzi scheme. So stay away from OneCoin.
OneCoin's a Ponzi scheme. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do my own research to say that out loud.
Bitcoin Uncensored guys went balls deep on OneCoin guys.
Yeah. Shout out to the Bitcoin Uncensored guys. They keep it going. I don't know how they maintain that level of energy sometimes. Like, it's like 100% the entire show. I feel like I have to, like, take a breath. Like, whew.
I think all other shows suck except others.
Dang. Marcello just shitting on everybody. You got just shitting on them. Kidding.
You use all that energy and delete your podcast.
I like some of the podcasts.
Burn.
I like some of the podcasts.
Shots fired. Why are you trying to start like a rap battle with Bitcoin podcasts? What's that about?
Let's have a rap battle.
Let's have a Bitcoin podcast rap battle. That would be hilarious, actually. Us versus Bitcoin Uncensored. Who's better? We have Lil Buterin, so we already called him. Snags on Lil Buterin.
Lil Butte.
Lil Butte. Well, can we wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh, whoa! I got a question from a listener.
Oh yeah. Let's do that. Let's see if we can answer some listener questions on the fly.
Really quick, let's do rapid fire. At Irish Etchings asked, how can small sellers access payment by Bitcoin?
Coinbase.
Yeah.
All right. At Silly Stoner King.
We get the same question from I think it was Silly Stoner King. Yeah. There's Bitcoin merchant tools that'll give you a lot of tools as a small store owner to allow people to pay you Bitcoin, and then you can automatically convert that to cash if you don't want to deal with Bitcoin. I don't know why you would. But a lot of these tools allow you to do those types of things, and they also keep really good records. So Coinbase, I think they're probably the number one, but there's more out there. I just need to look.
Bitcoin processors? There's a lot, man. BitSquare,
a lot.
BitPay. BitPay's been doing it for longer than Coinbase. Honestly, BitPay I think is a little bit better when it comes to merchant tools. BitPay, BitSquare. Also, what's the little thing you see people have it on their phones? It's a little square with another little square inside of it.
It's called Square.
Square, you can integrate that into your back end. And yeah, so a lot of businesses don't know that. And if you are one of those cool businesses that like does everything on an iPad and take your orders on an iPad and people swipe things on an iPad, you're probably using Square, maybe something like it. If you do a little bit of research on Square's website, and maybe I can get this out, you can integrate Bitcoin on your back end. So now it'll just pop up right where, your cashiers or something, they'll press cash or they'll press credit or they'll press debit. It'll just pop up a Bitcoin button and you can push the button and then you can accept Bitcoin. So it's a smooth integration. It's not that much code, and go look on Square's website for the literature. All right, next question.
At Adam Morgan says, should Pokemon Go leverage the blockchain?
I don't know. Wait, before you say no, what kind of question is that? What do you mean by leverage the blockchain? Leverage how?
That's all I got.
I can't make assumptions on how you leverage something. Hey, dude, who you are, right back in with a better question. All right, next question.
I'm eating some eggs this morning. Should I leverage the blockchain for that?
Yeah, come on. Like, what is that?
Well, it depends on I don't know how Pokemon Go actually makes money. But
they make money off of opportunity is how they make money. One, they're getting all this data on people, so advertisements can be very, very, very.
Maybe you can if they open up like a Pokemon marketplace where you can trade and sell and buy your caught Pokemon. You could leverage the blockchain.
Well, how about I think
hard.
Pokemon Go suffers server downtimes, possibly due to DDoS attacks. Can the blockchain help with that?
No.
Can
all Pokemon Go? Go ahead.
At the current implementation of what we have, no.
I was just gonna say the only way. Do I keep interrupting you?
No, I'm just talking over you.
Go ahead.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only way Pokemon Go can fix their server issues is by buying more servers. That's it. Just and spread them out.
But yeah, we're working on decentralized applications, right? But it's still a really young field, and something at that scale. I mean, we can't make that scale yet.
Maybe he just wanted to hear us think about how we could leverage the Bitcoin blockchain and use Pokemon Go. Let's come with some ideas.
Maybe he's just really loves Pokemon Go and our show.
Like, what if a Mewtwo were worth 1 Bitcoin and you could mine by walking to the locations of where the Mewtwo was, and then when you catch it, you get a Bitcoin, and it's just, see how stupid this sounds? Man, that was just a ridiculous question. I don't understand. Moving on. Next question.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, let's close this out then. Shout out to Zoe Saldana, of course. You the best. At the BTC podcast on Twitter is our Twitter. Mojin Cello runs it. Is it Mojin like a thing?
It is a thing.
What is it?
It's like a grave robber.
Oh, that's deep.
I did not see that coming.
Why Mojin?
Cello was taken.
Is that another M-Goat McCool?
Yeah, it was like a whatever.
If you play Xbox, M-Goat McCool is Cello. He's not on there anymore because he bought a Steam box.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So our affiliation with Purse.io. If you do your shopping on Purse.io, stop doing it through the current profile that you have and sign up with another one through our website. If you go to thebitcoinpodcast.com, right on the right side, you'll see a banner. That banner says, like, save 15% on Amazon at Purse.io. Oh. And then you can, like, buy stuff like you would regularly buy stuff on Purse. Except for
it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade to your account. You're literally upgrading your account. You know why? Because you're paying us while you do the exact same thing.
Absolutely. It's an upgrade. It's like giving back when you shop, except for you're giving to us.
You upgrade your Purse account.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. It's a free upgrade.
Yep. 100% free upgrade. And yeah, so go ahead and sign up with that program, our affiliation program. Do your shopping on Purse. Buy shit with Purse.
Get your shit with Purse.
Get your shit with Purse.
There you go.
Yeah. Other than that, thebitcoinpodcast.com is the website. Sign up for our newsletter so you know when we drop new episodes. And am I missing anything? Nah. If you're listening on iTunes, give us 5-star rating. If you don't want to give us a 5-star rating, then fuck off. Yeah. Well, I don't want to end the show with fuck off. That's bad.
Go read the new article about this episode on Cointelegraph.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Cointelegraph.com. All right, guys. It's been a good one. Play the outro.
The new outro.